let's do, and I'm going to do sort of a TBR update of where I'm at and sort of my October reads, which included books with trees on the covers, of which I've read all but one, Latin A Heritage and Hispanic Heritage Month history books, which I have, one left. And then National Book Award shortlist, long list, or winner books or authors, and Kirkus shortlist authors. Books, actually, the books was those. And then just some like fall vibes. So those kind of 5 prompts guided my TBR in October. And I read through sort of like what was the prompt of the week and then kind of filtered in other things is kind of what that looked like. But I wanted to continue to create a space where I can mood read a little bit, and also where I can, sort of choose, like, this book, once I got into it, kind of landing like this, and I feel like I want to read another, what, based on what I think I know about the books, like be able to choose from several books to be like, this is what's going to be read next. And normally I am pretty like, these are going to be the 5 books. Those are the 5 books that I'll probably read that week, and based on some prompt. So this is a new thing I'm doing this year to try to see how my reading trends go, and if this influences them at all, and also to invite myself to soft or hard TBR books. Okay. So let me catch us up a little bit. The first thing I want to say is that this Carlos Fuentes Happy Families, I'm taking off. This is not going to get unhauled. It's going to get reshelved. I've decided to take this book off because it's a short story collection, and I have read already this month 2 short story collections, and I have planned another short story collection for this pile of possibilities for Booker that I'm going to go over in this video. So I think I know that's too much. Like, I'm putting too much pressure on myself for how I read short stories, or how I like or don't like short stories. So this has absolute, if we're going with like seasonal vibes, spring vibes, it's also a recent haul. So I'm quite happy to just find a space for it back on my shelf. I just want to go over the 2 short stories collections that I've read. This was Her Body and Other Parties, which would have fit into the National Book Award because it was a finalist. Authors and Books by Carmen Maria Machado. But I actually read it as part of it was part of my Kirkus award finalists as well. And so that's the capacity I read it. I am almost done with Rabe, and this was a spontaneous put on, and I guess that spontaneity bumped Carlos Fuentes, but this is One More for the Road by Ray Bradbury, and I'm almost done. I have a couple stories left, mostly listening, but reading some hybrid style, and I'm just kind of listening to these whenever I'm in the mood for it, and it's been a great ride. I've really appreciated. I expect this will be in the reading review for the end of this week. I am traveling this weekend, so I won't be doing the amount of reading I normally do on weekends. I'll probably be able to maybe take a few short walks, but I will be with people, and it just won't be a reading environment. So it's more likely that this is probably my like little expectation to finish. What do I have left for books with trees on the covers? I have only 1 book left, and that is Homeland Elegies by Ayad Akhtar, and I intend to get to this next week. Yeah, this I absolutely will. This is a priority get to. It is a book I want to read, and I want to read it now. So it's not something I want to reshelve. And I want to get to this, next week. It's going to be a next week book. I can say the same of the Las Cuentista. That's my last Latin Heritage Month history book. that that I had planned, and this also was a spontaneous plan. I found it in the back of the young adult shelf. It is a beautiful book that is beautifully kept, and I always say that I don't want to keep those young adults for a very long time. I really regret not having this out into the little free libraries at the beginning of this month, but I'm sure somebody will be happy to find it whenever I get it done. So next week, this is a for sure read. And then the last of the Kirkus review was also going to be read next week. So these are my three, like, these are the books that I'll read next week. It's The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. And that kind of will wrap up, except for I have a little bit. Okay, never mind. I want to talk about some things that are on my current, like I'm currently reading and then possibly listening to. So I have just started Claire Black's Murder Below Montparnasse. And I am not far enough into it to know if I'm going to jam with it or not. This was one of the arcs that I pulled and said, this is kind of fall vibe and I want to integrate it in. It's kind of my reading mood for this evening. So normally mystery fillers, they don't take me very long. They're not incredibly, like, you have to carefully read the words or reread and rethink kind of thing. So that's what I anticipate about this. This will probably be done this weekend. My audiobooks are up. So I was thinking to listen to this. I have this checked out in Libya's audio, which is Maria Kuznetsova is something unbelievable. It's actually a 10-hour listen, which surprises me a little bit. It's a little bit longer, but I wanted to have something queued up. That's kind of not, this is her exploring, this is the main character talking with her grandma about the exile from the Ukraine, during the, yeah, it's not giving dates, but that's the premise of this book. It's a little bit different than some of the books. Like, the premise is a little different than what I've been reading lately. This is one of those I've had for a minute, kind of got the fall vibes. And so this is probably going to be an audio. Probably. I'm not going to feel any kind of way, to be honest, if I don't listen to it, and I might have to make a decision, then will I reshelf it or unhaul it? Finally, the time has come. This is Revolutionary Mothering, Love on the Front Lines. And this is a series of essays. And I bought this book when I was in New York last year for a friend. And I'm not currently on a nonfiction trend at all, but I've decided, super fall vibey, and I got to get this to my friend. I think that I'm going to see this person soon at a meeting, like next week. So I've decided for this weekend that I might not get very much done, but listening to those few last Ray Bradbury stories, that if I have any reading time, that I will, I'll just read a couple essays from here. I think they'll be really grounding. And then if I love it, I mean, I have it checked out on Libby, and I can continue to check it out as long as I want, and read, like, just read essays as they speak to me, so that I can give this book. Well, I was going to give this book even without having read any of it away, but so I've given it a chance. I do own it. So now we can talk about the bookers. I have curated a stack of authors that have been shortlisted or won. And I think all of these are the actual book, not just the author, with the exception of one. The Booker International Booker Prize. They are not the extent of Booker Prize winning authors, or short or long list authors, for sure. And maybe even works on my shelf. It's just that what I kind of curated as I was going through pulling other books and thinking, and or hauling, right? So it's not an extensive list of even what's on my notable size collection. But it's what I thought that would be a reasonable selection for basically the month of November to read. while I'm also integrating in Native American authors, which I'm compiling my pile of possibilities over there, and maybe some other books as well. So I just wanted to go through them. This helps me also kind of talk through them. I already finished one this week. It snuck in, the TBR. And I will talk more about this now that I'm like thinking about it. I wanted to start talking about it in the review video, but I did finish the Man Booker Prize winning book, The Sea by John Banville. Books that I've already talked about, who have already kind of hit my TBR, that looks like they're gonna kind of get, yeah, they'll probably get bumped out of next week's reading, which is the last week of October, so that I can prioritize those books that I've just talked about, and with a start in November, but we'll see. This is another winner, which is Lincoln in the Bardo, and I'm really excited to experience. I have checked out the audio version of this, and I expect to start this not next week, but next week in audio, unless I choose just not to do this one and then bump Lincoln in the Bardo. Brick Lane by Monica Lee was shortlisted or longlisted. I'm not sure. It doesn't have any marketing on here, but I am aware that this was one of the books of that year. This is a new to me author, and I now have another book by them also on my shelf. This is from 2003, and it's London and Bangladesh. Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid was longlisted for the 2020 Booker. So somewhat more contemporary. I really loved Come and Get It. I've heard people say they didn't like it at all. I thought it was a fantastic book. And I hope that this one, I think that got more acclaim and, more accolades than Come and Get It. I am excited to read that by Kylie Reid. And those three books are priorities. I will read them. They are already sitting on my sort of TBR. In the possibilities are the next books, which I may or may not get to, or in many of these cases, I might substitute them out for something else on my shelf, if that feels better at the time. So the first is that short story collection that I was talking about when I was talking about why I was going to bump the Carlos Fuentes Happy Families. And that's Salman Rushdie's Harun in the Sea of Stories. This was not the Booker. I don't think this book, as it's short stories, was eligible for any kind of Booker, but I know Salman Rushdie on several occasions he won. And also, I think he won like the esteemed author. I can't recall what it's called, but the bigger kind of prize for the Booker of all Bookers. I have hauled this book from a Friends of the Library sale where it was $1 with several other Salman Rushdie books. And they're sitting on my classic shelf because I feel like that's right for Salman Rushdie, that he belongs in classics. However, I've never read him, and I wanted to give him a try in November. And it can fit on like the Booker, or it could fit on the fall vibes. That's very much a fall vibe kind of book. The next book, it was the International Booker Prize winner of it was the International Booker Prize winner of 2024, and that's Kairos by Jenny Epernek. And this is a recently hauled book. I found this at a Friends of the Library too for like $1. It's what a fantastic find. What a beautiful book in a beautiful condition. This is translated from the German. So I also have that other ARC that's translated from the German, which if I get to next week, great. If I don't, that's fine too, or in future weeks. So I'm not saying one can't read two German translated authors back to back. I could probably read months of them, right? But I might swap this out depending on the vibe for another Booker International Prize author. Patty Clark, Ha Ha Ha, is the Booker winner from 1993. I'm a little over right now. I think I've overread books from the 90s in these since I've been back from summer. And that's my only sort of reluctance. I absolutely want to read Roddy Doyle. He's the chair of the judges for this year's Booker prize, and I have, since I started talking about him, found and hauled 3 other books by him, all for very cheap, like $1 to $3. So I could choose that if there's something more recent, but this is the one that I want to have the most intention to read. And yeah, that's why it's sitting in this stack. I now have 2 books by Rachel Kushner. This one, Creation Lake, which is a very recent haul. It's just from 2 weekends ago. And it was shortlisted in 2024 for the Booker. So last year, right? And super contemporary. I wanted to have something contemporary. On my shelf, I have some older stuff. So this one's 2024 too. And I'm happy about that. I think that that's going to kind of lead me into wanting to read both of these books because, yeah, I think reading contemporary and then not so contemporary and then classic stuff is all good. It's part of the way to make the diversity. I checked out this audiobook on Libby to see, I listen to samples of books to see if I like the readers or if I might want to give audio a chance. And actually it is her, it's the author reading the book. And I love that. So I anticipate listening to this book probably towards the end of November. And I think between this and I think it's the Mars Room that I have, this would be the book that I would choose. Last but not least, and certainly not smallest, we have another winner of the Booker Prize, and that's The Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. Let me be honest, this is a chunk of a book. It's almost 700 pages, which I could do in a week if I were really involved, for sure. But I worry that this chunk of a book will kind of interrupt how I'm reading right now, which is absolutely just for entertainment, somewhat voraciously, to find stories and variety of stories to kind of counteract this really one-dimensional ways in which I'll just say that one-dimensional or 2-dimensional, and then in which case incredibly divisive ways in which we're getting fed stories everywhere we turn these days. So that was kind of a diatribe way to say that I think this book for me is a better endeavor like in the summer. Yeah. Maybe during the winter break, but I feel like something like this that I could read throughout the whole summer and then just read whatever kind of comes across my path like I read last summer, along with it would probably be better. But I want to keep it in this pile because I don't want to disregard, I don't want to force myself to read anything I don't really want to read, but I also don't want to, I want to confront sort of conceived notions when in fact I've definitely read longer books before. Anna Karenina being one of my favorite books that I remember reading, in my 20s. So I don't need to create a whole narrative around a longer book. I do just need to continue to consider it and reflect on if it's something I want to read now. It's also something to showcase. I have it. It's a Booker winner. I'm super excited to have it. And then if I don't get to it, well, quite frankly, I'll have to, move some other books off my shelf to find a place for it because it is a bit big, but I'll just reshelf it and know that one day I'll face it. So there we have it. That's a big sort of like what's coming down the pike and where I'm at with all of my reading goals. And yeah, it felt hectic until I did it. So now I feel a lot better about it. And that helped me a lot. So we'll see in the probably weekly TBRs, which I'll still do, which I'll show you which of these books I picked. And of course, the reading reviews where the rubbers really hit the road on if I read and what I read and how I experienced it. So there we have it. Until next time.